Once upon a time, there was a clueless kid who had an idea for a product. He knew nothing about design, but with a little bit of work, some 3D printing, and a lot of trial and error, he made it real. After 3 years, countless mistakes, and thousands of dollars wasted. But in that time, he went from having zero skills to building a fully functional clicking water bottle lid with custom silicone parts entirely in this tiny little cupboard. And if I could go back in time, this is what I would tell him and anybody else looking to design their own product to save them thousands of dollars and years of frustration. Because I made my first mistake right away. I was just so excited to start designing that I opened up my laptop and Googled free design software, and Tinkercad popped up. Now Tinkercad's a cool little free program. You can take basic shapes and combine them. You can take those shapes and make them negatives to create holes or cutouts within those shapes. Now if your product's really simple, you might be able to get away with it, but my product is not so simple. And instead of designing with precision, I was essentially taking shapes, throwing them together, and 3D printing it out to see what would happen. That tedious, endless cycle ended up taking months longer than it should have.
But if I could go back, alter the timeline, and give some advice, I'd recommend forgetting Tinkercad and just learning professional CAD software right away. My professional CAD software of choice was Fusion 360, but SolidWorks is another great option.
A few YouTube tutorials is all it takes to get started. Now the original trial and error portion with the 3D printer at the beginning of the project is pretty much unavoidable, but it gives you time to really flesh out your idea and fine-tune every tiny little detail. And if you're using professional CAD software to do this, it's going to be a lot quicker and smoother of a process, as well as creating a better product. It's like trying to hit a target a mile away. You can either use a musket, or you can use a sniper rifle. And if you really don't want to learn professional CAD software, like I didn't, this is what I would say. Yeah, you just have to suck it up and learn it. As a solo entrepreneur, you don't just have to wear a lot of hats. You have to wear all the hats. Now, back in the dark ages, when I was going through this part of my journey, AI didn't exist. So use AI, ask it design questions, ask it 3D printing questions, tell it your feelings, have existential crises with it, I don't care. Just use it, use it, use it. It will help you immeasurably. Now I have a prediction for you. Right now, in the beginning of 2025, AI can iteratively edit text, it can debug code, it can go and do images and tweak certain things. So in 5, maybe 10 years, it'll be able to do the same thing with 3-dimensional CAD files. Like you'll be able to type in words into your laptop and it'll spit out a fully functioning product for you to go 3D print out.
It is our job to create computing technology such that nobody has to program. And that the programming language is human. Everybody in the world is now a programmer. This is the miracle. This is the miracle of artificial intelligence.
5 years. AI is not going away. It's only going to get wackier. So I'd use it if I were you. Now going back to my story and all my horrible decisions. First I hired a freelancer, then a manufacturer, and then back to another freelancer. Where did I go disastrously wrong, you ask? It's how I managed these projects, and how I did nothing but twiddle my thumbs for 9 months. With the first freelancer, I barely even checked their work. I just glanced at some screenshots every week and everything seemed fine. And it was actually really exciting watching my crude designs being transformed into a real product. And when they finally sent me the physical prototype, it absolutely sucked and didn't work at all. So I did some research and I went to a water bottle manufacturer. This time I actually reviewed my 3D designs before buying physical prototypes, and it did give me a much better picture into what I was paying for, but once I held it in my hands, there were still definitely some issues present. Finally, with freelancer number 2, I did what I should have done from the very beginning, which is 3D print out their designs that they were sending me on my 3D printer week by week. This gave me the opportunity to see how it would work in real life instead of waiting to get a physical prototype, and I wouldn't be sure if it was how I wanted it to be. Because no matter how good something looks in CAD, you never actually know till it's in your hand and you're using it. This not only allowed me to save money on wasted physical prototypes, but it allowed me to give more accurate feedback because I was actually using it in person. Now if I could do this all over again, I would still hire help, but I would never stop 3D printing alongside them. Absolutely no more thumb twiddling. When you hire someone for your project, it's not supposed to replace you, it's supposed to augment your time and skills. That's something I didn't understand. Wearing all the hats, remember? Every design would be stress test in real life, and not just approved based on a CAD file. Don't pay for something that doesn't first work on your 3D printer. At least kind of, there's some room for error there. Another giant mistake I made was I essentially did absolutely zero project management. Without going too much into it, always set deadlines, clear deliverables, and milestones. Those things will help you properly evaluate if the person or people that you hired are doing a good job in a timely fashion, rather than just hoping they're getting the job done that you want. Oh, and by the way, if you're considering firing someone, you probably already should have. It took me another year during this stage to truly appreciate the power of what 3D printing is capable of. There are so many different materials, settings, and techniques available that you can truly create almost anything from your home nowadays. You can even 3D print molds to pour other materials into to create more exotic, unique parts. I did this with silicone. But there's nearly unlimited materials that you can do this with. I've also even tweaked my 3D printer settings to print at a layer height of 0.04 millimeters, or, as they say, 40 microns. New word I learned. Personally, I recommend the company Bamboo Lab for their 3D printers. It's not sponsored in any way, I just really love and appreciate their products based on all the different 3D printers that I've used. I use a Bamboo Lab P1P with a 0.2mm nozzle for extreme detail. This is where, in my own personal journey, where I really discovered the power of 3D printing. I started fixing the broken prototypes I'd paid people for, replacing their flawed parts with my own custom 3D printed parts. This time designed in Fusion 360, the professional CAD software. You know, that's when it clicked. Instead of relying on freelancers or manufacturers to send me prototypes, I experimented with building the entire prototype myself. I pushed through hurdles like food safety regulations, and I handmade silicone parts, along with a whole bunch of other obstacles I had to overcome. This is the part of the story where I started handing out samples to people because I knew that I created a great product, but I was so bogged down by all the details and the work that I put into it that I couldn't objectively view it as a first-time user, like a forest for the trees situation. And after tons and tons of revisions and 3D printing and getting feedback, I finally had my completed, finished product. You know, I really don't have too many criticisms for myself at this stage. I finally took matters into my own hands, designed my own products, and used real CAD software to do it. And because of the better mindset and smarter steps I took earlier in the timeline, the learning process for this phase of the journey would be way faster. But I would like to tell myself a few things. Just keep those manufacturers in the loop, make sure that your designs are compatible with mass manufacturing. That's what you need your product to have when, you want to scale a business. Spend way too much time diagnosing the problem and not just jumping right into solving it. There are way too many times where I spent hours and hours and hours trying to fix a problem where I didn't even have the root cause identified yet. I heard this concept recently about two-dimensional and three-dimensional lessons. Two-dimensional things are learned by things like reading books or watching this video, whereas a three-dimensional lesson is learned kind of out in the field or in the arena, doing the work and kind of understanding it from a first point of view perspective. Three-dimensional lessons are a lot more potent and they're necessary. Unfortunately, to learn those, you gotta make mistakes. The good news is it's supposed to be messy. You're not supposed to get it perfect on your first try. Yes, reading books and watching videos kind of can give you a loose trail guide, but ultimately it's up to you to, getting started is the most important thing. Stop procrastinating and, start learning those three-dimensional lessons. But if you don't want to start right now, you could watch another one of my videos.